We are live.
We are alive and live.
It's Anita and Dario with Oh Live Your Life, and welcome to Anita and Dario's Adventures. Today we're going to be talking about travel, and we're going to be talking about Tuscan food. So stay tuned to our little adventures that we have going on and that we want to talk about with you. Looking forward to all your questions. Thank you so much for the ones that you've sent in already. We've answered some already in the Facebook group, and we'll answer some more today. So we'll always love hearing from you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Cheers, everyone. We're actually on holiday.
Finally. Salute.
Salute. We're actually on holidays, and we're still deciding on where to go and what that's going to be. So I'm tired of even saying it until we sort of wrap everything up and say where we're going to go. That's when we'll know, and we'll share it with everybody.
Be as spontaneous as possible, isn't we?
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. So we're enjoying some wine, so hopefully you are too. We do call it the happy hour. So I don't know if many people know what happy hour is, but in Italy, it is really well known, especially.
Yeah.
They have tapas time in Spain, all over the world. And it's usually after hours, after work. You get together and you have a couple drinks with friends. And a lot of times what they have is
buffet.
Little buffets and little appetizers. Like they'll have tapas in Spain. In Italy, they'll have a whole bunch of different things, right?
It's amazing because for a lot of people is when you go for an happy hours in Italy, it normally starts between 6, sometimes to 8, sometimes even to 9 o'clock. But what you do every time you order an Aperol Spritz or a glass of wine or whatever you want, they bring you a tray or a board of charcuterie, pizzelle, focaccia, little sandwich, sometimes some arancini, and it's almost like having a full dinner. So we don't quite have the full dinner here, but we surely have the wine.
We should have got our charcuterie tray.
We should have, yes.
But whenever we go to Italy, it's such a great thing. So we thought, okay, this is 5 o'clock. This would be happy hour in the Mediterranean. So why not call it the happy hour? That's not really an hour, but we hope that you end up happy by the end of it and inspired. That's what we're looking at. We want to have you inspired around food and travel and connection and all of that. So
isn't that exciting? It's exciting.
It's exciting.
Yes.
So anyway, we have a couple of things we want to talk about today, and then we'll get to some questions. The first one is travel tips, and we are going to be adding this into our newsletter tomorrow about things that we're looking at right now, because travel has changed. People are dying to get out and dying to go and travel. And I mean, we find that ourselves a little bit as well. We're wanting to get out. Now we've been sort of wrapped up with work, which has held us back a little bit. But where is it to go? What is it we're doing? And we feel a little bit confined, especially for those people that love to travel.
Right.
And so I just wanted to give a couple tips in travel. Of course, you can chip in too. I mean, I'm more the travel side of things because of owning the travel agency and being in that side of things. So I'm going to speak a little bit to the heart of what I always find is something that's important for when you travel. Yeah. And number one, I always enjoy and I tell clients to do is to learn a little bit about the language.
Yes, big time.
Now, if you're going somewhere that's English speaking, yeah, of course you know what the language is. But if you're going somewhere else, I mean, it's gotten a lot easier over the years. But I've traveled a lot on my own, and sometimes I would have a little book or I know little phrases, and being able to speak to the locals is really, really important because you get away from those touristy type areas and you end up being with a lot of the locals. I am still learning Italian. Dario, I mean, he just happens to know 4 languages, so it's a lot easier. But
it's not as easy as you think, but it's sometimes can be confusing, but it's being part of a culture, right?
So there's some really great apps out there right now. There's, I think Rosetta Stone is one that I've done, and they have a lifetime program right now. So you can go in and you can learn all kinds of languages. Duolingo is also a really, really good app that I find is good just to sort of brush yourself up. It's free. You have to go through some of the ads sometimes for Duolingo when you're doing it, but it gives you daily tips on what to do and what pace you're going to go at and reminders, you need to do your Italian or your French or your Spanish or whatever it is. But it's always exciting when you travel. And I think that's a really key tip is to really learn a little bit about the language and the culture before you travel somewhere. So you don't you want to, and that comes into the next one too, but the second one kind of talks a little bit, you want to be a little bit prepared, but you don't want to be too prepared.
That's right.
So it's important when you walk into a country or you go somewhere, you go with the flow. There's so many times that people are so structured in where they're going that they miss. They have these blinders on when they travel, and they don't see to the right or to the left to really understand the culture. You lose so much if you don't really understand the culture and the food and where you're going. And that's what's so great about our trip to Tuscany, is because Dario knows a lot of that. So you get out of that sort of a regular tour type of setting that we do in our trip that we're doing September next year. The other thing is, when you go there, don't go with just a regular tour company, and plan something that's, they have these tours when you go into cities where you're actually in with one of the locals, and you'll do like a street walk, and they'll show you places that are fascinating, places that the locals will eat in, the places that the locals will go to. It's nice to, I know a lot of times when we go places, and Dario isn't always that keen on it. I think you are a little bit now, but I love to get into a town or into a city and do the bus tour for the first time. Remember in Monaco, we went to Monaco.
That was actually, and I've been to Monaco many, many times, and Monte Carlo, sorry, and when Anita came with me this time, we were down in south of France. She says, "We need to do this. They have a beautiful train tour," and I said, "Oh, that's so tacky," and really opened my eyes, because I probably been in Monte Carlo 5-6 times, but I never knew so many little story in and outs about the city.
And we've done it all over the place now. So we end up doing a tour for a day, half a day, just to get the feeling of where everything is, and then go and explore and really see the sites that are outside of that normal touristy type of thing. So that's really, really important as well. I think it's really important during these times. I'm going to just cut it off at this, the fourth tip, but the COVID restrictions that are going on right now. You don't want to end up in a country where there's a lot of restrictions in place, or even knowing what you need to get when you get to the airport. We have to have patience right now when we travel. We have to be a bit cautious, but still there's so much beauty out there. There's really no reason for it to stop you from going, and just being aware of what those restrictions are, making sure that you're prepared when you get to the airport so that you're not frustrated and the lineups, and also not having the right information that you're needing. So I think that's really, really important. There's 4 tips right now that I would say for traveling. I mean, I have a million of them. There's great things around traveling, and there's great things to do, but that would be sort of the area that I think would be most important. So now because tomorrow we're going to have a blog and a recipe released on gnudi, which is something totally different.
Well, this is something quite traditional of the region of Tuscany. And, traditional mean, if I really translate it, means naked, okay?
And that actually says it in the blog too, tomorrow.
But if you look the way gnudi is N-U-D-I, means naked. But this specific dish is gnudi, okay? G-N-U-D-I. And what does it mean? It's really naked, okay? Naked, why? Because traditionally, the ricotta and spinach, okay, is the stuffing for a raviolo. So they are naked of the dough, okay? So
I knew the naked part, but I didn't know the...
traditionally, that's what it is. They are missing something. There is something that is, but it is one of the most delicious dishes, quite simple, and quite fragrant, I would say. Now, in different part of Italy, if you go, for example, in the other part of Italy, in the southern part of Tuscany, for example, in Pisa, they call it malfatti, or bad made, okay? Outcome is exactly the same. We have a same kind of a version of this type of pasta in the northern part of Italy, okay? Which is actually made with bread. But what are gnudi? Gnudi is simple, almost like I would say the shape of a meatball, made with ricotta and spinach, okay? And what we have on our recipe, we brought Tuscany all the way down to Sicily. So just to give a little tour of the Mediterranean. So Tuscany, so the gnudi, the actual traditional way the gnudi are made, okay? They are traveling into Sicily by having eggplant, nuts, raisins. Then it encompasses all the beautiful fruit of the Mediterranean, part of the ingredients of the Mediterranean, and the freshness with a little tomato and some good olive oil. We highly recommend this recipe. Super easy, very simple, can be definitely done ahead, but it's one thing. Then it was almost like a simple Sunday meal in a lot of the homes in Tuscany, and it would have been done traditionally with some fresh tomato sauce or with maybe some meat or whatever it is. But what I thought is, well, what about bringing it right through the Mediterranean? This simple traditional, because it's as traditional you can get with the nudi, bring it right down to the Mediterranean of Sicily.
Yeah. And the great thing about that is also that we're using local ingredients to where we live. So we've got eggplant in the garden, we've got tomatoes in the garden, and part of the Mediterranean lifestyle is
spinach.
Is using what you have local, whether it's your own garden or whether it's the local farmers, or whether you were able to get it in season and then freeze it. That's the way to think. I think also with the Mediterranean lifestyle is to use what's in season, be able to preserve what has been there for the rest of the year, so that it's you've got the healthy and the taste of it. That's right. That's really
But
important.
also is the simplicity.
Yeah.
Also is the simplicity, because when you please check the blog tomorrow. And you check even the history of this dish. It brings back all the simple traditional cuisine of Tuscany. Again, it's not a super complicated dish. It's super easy. It's good to do on a Sunday. You have the kids over, you have the family over, or you just want to do it for yourself. It's few steps and then the sauce. That's it. It's not, you don't have to stretch pasta. Remember, they're naked. They're only the spinach and the ricotta. But it's the beautiful flavor, and you can change them, your flavor composition. One thing we also encourage people when we're talking about eating, and Anita said something very interesting before. When you travel and when you eat, the idea is the same. You need to be a little bit adventurous. You need to be a little bit creative. You need to really start giving yourself an opportunity to have your palate detecting things. So you will see this recipe is simple, but maybe inside that recipe you want maybe a little bit of orange zest, maybe a little bit of caramelized onions, whatever you do. So we want to encourage yourself to base on that. Experiment and send us a message. Say, hey, you know what? I tried to do this and that with that. What do you think about it? So I love to hear those comments. We love to kind of, share some idea with you guys, because travel and food are very much the same. It's an adventure. It's a journey. It's where you go. It's what you experience. Okay? And when you travel, you always want to be curious for the next thing. And you want to be part of that culture.
And that's why I got my travel shirt on. Traveler, not tourist. I love this shirt. It kind of explains it and sums it all in one.
And it's funny because we talked about it yesterday. Myself and Anita, every morning we have a ritual that we do. We get up in the morning, we have a lemon water, and before we have our coffee, we normally do a 5K or say 7K of run or walk, whatever it is. But it's about talking about what the day is going to bring, and this is part of starting your day, connecting with nature. Get your body into action. And one of the things about traveling, about being adventurous, is start with you not just being a tourist, but you be part of the culture. Once you start being part of the culture, you're not just a tourist. You're not just going to see another Baccarat rock. You're going to experience something. And the same thing is with food. It's such of an empowering effect. And you're not going to like everything, when you travel. I mean, many times we've been to places and, that traditional things to me, maybe we did not like as much, but we wanted to try it. We wanted to experience it. And maybe from that memory, we'll switch it to something else.
So we're talking a lot about travel this month because we are selling out our Tuscan tour for next year that's going to be in Tuscany. It's going to be around food and wine. It's a small group. We might end up having to bring on one more villa, actually, because it's really exciting. But we want to still keep the group somewhat small. Yeah. So that's why we're talking a lot about Tuscany. We're talking a lot about Italy because we're wrapping up what we're doing there with the travel, and also the Tuscan food, with the nudie that we're bringing out, the Dario wrote the recipe for us. So we have the recipe in place. You can either go to oliveyourlife.org, and you can join our community there. So you'll get the newsletter tomorrow that comes out with a lot of great information, plus the blog, plus a whole bunch of other things that we talk about in the newsletter. That's always a great resource. Or the day after, you can go in and take a look at the blog and the recipe. That will be available. And it's neat because we actually have a video that shows you how to make the nudie as well. And Dario has some neat tip about how to add the flour to it. I can't explain more, but it is a neat tip.
They got to look at it. They got to look at it.
I don't know. I was fascinated.
But I think the most important thing, then, we're talking about this culinary retreat, and our clients are really excited about coming with us. And one of the things that some people said we love it because it doesn't feel like a tour. It feels you are part of the culture. That is it. Yes, we're gonna go see some great things. You're gonna see great product. You're gonna go see great wine and food experience. But also, you're gonna immerse yourself into the culture of Tuscany. Then it is quite unique because there is a bit of everything. Everybody think about Tuscany. Some people think there is no sea in Tuscany. Well, there is actually sea in the southern part of Tuscany. And there is the beautiful mountain, the beautiful hills that you see on pictures. There is so much history. And one of the things that people don't know is where the Italian language started.
Oh.
In Florence.
Wow.
The Italian language actually started in Tuscany. Okay.
You were like an encyclopedia. Yeah.
Well, no, I just studied when I was a kid. I was forced to study it.
Oh, that's too funny. Well, we only have a little bit of more time left here, so I wanted to get to some of the questions. So I'm just going to go over two questions. One was favorite place in Italy. Do you want to say yours quickly, and then I'll say mine?
Yes.
I don't know.
So one of my favorite places, and is dear to my heart, Anita knows exactly what I'm going to say, and it's almost like a ritual for me. For the longest time was my ritual. Every time, I go to Italy every year, and when me and Anita going there, is one of the spots that for me encompass Italianity, encompass culture, and encompass tradition, and that's the city of Siena. Siena is the beautiful little city in Tuscany. I absolutely adore that city. There is some emotion, some vibe about the city that is quite unique. Piazza del Campo is the squares known for the horse race around one time of the year when all the different contrade, which is different neighborhood, compete with each other for this palio. That is definitely one of my favorite. The other one, then I think you probably agree with me, is probably Sardinia. And the reason why I like Sardinia is the wilderness and the simplicity of the region. How about you?
I just love everything about Italy, but I still have a lot more to explore than you have. So I don't know. There's so many, but one that sticks out to mind is more of a memory moment that was interesting, but it was beautiful as well, and that was Sirmione.
Oh, you got to tell the story.
And it was just such a wonderful thing. We were on our way to Verona.
But there is a reason. This story explains what travel is all about.
So there was we wanted to go to Verona, and that's where, of course, Romeo and Juliet is, and we were all excited, and we were talking in the car, and we ended up getting lost. And
we took the wrong exit, actually.
Yeah, we took the wrong exit. And, my philosophy is always, well, it was meant to be, right? So we had to do it. We had to go the different routes. So we ended up in this town, Sirmione. And it was just magical. I'll just never forget stopping there and go, we were meant to be here. I don't know why. And it was unbelievable. It was on Lake Garda. It was a walled sort of a city. It was stunning. it was just magical to me. I just really loved it. I definitely want to go back again because we did end up going to Verona afterwards, which I loved as well. Like I can't think of any place that I haven't loved in Italy. But if I wanted to say one place that was magical that stood out to place, for me right now, and that would be it. So.
And you know what? Here's the funniest story. And I'm Italian, was born and raised there, and I always wanted to go to Sirmione. I never went once, and as a fluke, there we go for the first time together.
That's why we had to go.
That was my first time. Also, there was not that I'd been there before. Oh, I knew. No, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I always wanted to come here, and I never been there.
There's so many magical places outside the standard tourist places, and that's one thing, is to open yourself up, and that's one of the points that we made. The other one is, and I'm just going to leave with this last question. Do we have spaces on our trip to Tuscany? Yes, there are spaces still available. Deposits are due now, and to hold your spot. We might end up having to open up another villa by the looks of it. But right now I'm saying yes, it is available. So reach out to us if that's what you're interested in. Go to oliveyourlife.org, not .com or .ca, .org. And you'll be able to contact us there and take a look also. In the programs, you'll see the travel information, or you can reach out to us and we can send it to you. So yeah, it's a week in Tuscany, and it's gonna be a lot of fun, and we have space available. So
it's I think this tour is a tour where you're gonna share some of our friends.
Yeah,
this is the friends that we see every year when we go to Italy.
And Dario's got some top friends.
It's their people that we care a lot, and then we share a lot of great memories with, and we want to kind of the idea is to share this memory, this experience with you guys, and really bring Italy to your heart, because it's not about you going to Italy; it's bringing Italy to you, right there in that moment, in that encompassing. Then you are going. I remember one time in Italy, and I had a group of people, and it was this gentleman, and it was in his mid-60s. And all of a sudden, I see him crying in one of the events. It was the barbecue, and it was the middle of Tuscan night in this beautiful valley in Chianti. And that first thing is just, is everything okay? And the person said, this is probably the most magical moment that I've ever had in my life. And I can't believe that I had to wait all these years to figure that out. Mm-hmm. And you know what it was? It was an absolutely simple night with a bunch of people from Tuscany that were just living that moment. And that's what travel is all about.
Having fun, letting go, just enjoying life, enjoying good food, enjoying great people, and that's what it's about. So anyway, I think that's it for Anita Dario's Adventures today. We're still trying to figure out where we're going to be traveling to.
We know we're drinking. We're not going to be.
But we are on holidays, so cheers to that. Cheers, Dario.
Cheers, baby.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And
do not forget to all live your life.
And come and join us if you have any questions. Send them over to us. We love hearing from you.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao for now, everyone.